A police officer investigating the murder of engineer Armand Swart has told of how 2 burner phones were used to conceal cell phone data after Swart was killed in Vereeniging. Swart was shot 23 times while arriving at work in April 2024. In his testimony held on camera, witness A said those linked to the murder ensured they covered their tracks. Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo is following proceedings at the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria and joins us now live for more. Clearly, Ziyanda, I mean, the murder of engineer Armand Swart has opened a Pandora's box.
That's right, Vuyo. So starting from this morning, it is the murder of that Vereeniging engineer that we start the story and eventually get to this intricate web that involves senior police officers. So witness A started off by telling us that it was when they were called to a scene, not necessarily Armand Swart, but in Bramley, where this story begins. It involves Katiso Katie Molefe. It involves a senior police officer, Michael Puletau, an alleged hitman, Mabusela, and one Musa Kekana, whose house seemed to be a site for the exchange of vehicles. That was early in the morning. Now we then move on to the part where now this team that Witness A forms part of, which is the organized crime unit, that they get to start investigating these matters. There are 15 cartridges that are seized from the scene in Bramley that eventually gets linked to the murder of Armand Swart. And it is during this investigation stage then, Vuyo, that witness A says there was a call that he received from one General Richard Shibiri, who invited them to a meeting to talk about the investigations regarding Armand Swart, whom we know eventually also linked these very suspects I've mentioned to the murders of DJ Somebody and DJ Vintos, that Shibiri asked the members of this team to have a meeting with them. It was at this meeting, Vuyo, where a bribe, it seems, and as interpreted by witness A, was solicited. Remember those 3 envelopes that Mkwanazi mentioned, that there'd be an envelope to bribe the magistrate, there'd be another one to bribe the prosecutor, and another one for the investigators on the team. Now, witness A says there were senior police officials in that meeting, which include Major General Richard Shibiri, and they talk about how this became a strange moment for them. Listen to what witness A had to say about being in that meeting.
He termed it as there were 3 envelopes flying around that were on offer for the suspects to get bail. He said one envelope will be for the investigating officers, the other one will be for the magistrate, the last one will be for the prosecutor. And then by envelopes, we understood him to mean money, even though he didn't say money, but he said there is 3 envelopes flying around to make sure that these people get paid.
Now, witness A, when you say General Shibiri, when General Mkwanazi testified, he spoke to a senior person who informed the investigators that there were 3 envelopes. Was he referring do you know if he was referring to General Shibiri?
Yes, my understanding is that he was referring to General Shibiri, because in this investigation, when you take the mentioning of 3 envelopes, it only appeared in the meeting that we had with General Shibiri. And by the way, we reported it to our commanders.
So witness A then goes on further to unpack, what else happened during that meeting, and in particular, when it comes to one of the suspects, Michael Puletau, and their arrest and their subsequent release on bail, because Pule claimed that he had a medical condition. He had cited diabetes before the court. And so when this issue of the bribes comes up, witness A talks about how they didn't expect that such a conversation would be taking place in front of a senior police officer who didn't seem to actually bat an eyelid at this offer.
I would not expect our senior to even have this conversation with us, but if he was going to, it would be to advise us not to take any bribes that we may be offered in exchange of compromising the investigation. He did not do so. In my view, even though he did not expressly say so, I left that meeting feeling that General Shibiri was firstly trying to find out what evidence we had that linked the suspects to the murder and how strong our case was at the time. And secondly, to bait us to see if we could be influenced, hence the reference to the envelopes being available. It seems to me that if we were not agreeable to take the envelopes, which was indeed the case, then technically he did not offer us a bribe.
So it's at this point that witness A also begins to start having concerns around their personal safety. And I must mention that they are still currently in witness protection alongside his colleagues. But after lunch, witness A then tells us a story about a party at a White House on the Hill. And this is when the name of one man called Vusi Ndlala, Ndlala, not Matlala, Vusi Ndlala, gets introduced to a story. So Vusi Ndlala, witness A says, is someone that they knew because he would come to their office every now and then to get assistance with investigations. Now Vusi Ndlala, through witness A's colleague, then invites them to a party at this White House on the Hill. It's a boutique hotel in Northcliffe, and it's there when witness A arrives at that party that they come in contact with Major General Richard Shibiri, which then raises alarm bells yet again. But he wasn't the only one that was there in terms of senior ranking police officers. There were also members of this criminal underworld, but there were also the likes of Gauteng Police Commissioner Tommy Mtombeni that are mentioned, as well as one Brigadier Ngcobo, who was the acting divisional command in Sedibeng. Listen to this.
Now the colleague called me at around 21:30 that evening and told me that and asked me to guess who else is in attendance. Then I said, I don't know because I'm not there. And then he counted to me the people that were in attendance. And then to my surprise, General Shibiri had been now joined by two senior officers at the very same party, which was Gauteng Provisional Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mtombeni, and Brigadier Ngcobo, who is a Deputy Commissioner at Sedibeng District section in the Val.
And so the story of the acting district commissioner of police in Sedibeng, that being Mbangwa Ngcobo, becomes very interesting as well, Vuyo, because the Sedibeng municipality is the one in which the Val falls under, and it is in the Val where Armand Swart was shot and killed in that hail of bullets. And so witness A has been unpacking this web, it would seem, and the discomfort that they experience at different points in their investigation insofar as how far up this goes. In fact, he goes on to talk about how it was after that party that they decided to also report, to the highest commanders within their structure, having realized that there might be a challenge there. He also then talks, just before ending off his testimony, about the moment at which then they are supposed to receive that 24-hour police protection. And this is where proceedings ended off this afternoon, Vuyo.
Ziyanda Ngcobo, who of course has been keeping an eye on the Mabandla Commission proceedings, and the Commission, of course, has adjourned for the day, and proceedings will resume tomorrow morning, and Ziyanda Ngcobo will be there, of course, to bring it all to us.